Question from a YouTuber: how do I know if I'm gaslit or I'm actually in the wrong? Okay, well, here's the top 5 signs that you've been gaslit. You feel confused about what actually happened because the other person regularly contradicts your account of events. The gaslighter discourages you from seeking support from others, which makes you feel alone in your experience. You catch yourself apologizing all the time, even for things you shouldn't have to apologize for. And that's a sign that you've been made to feel responsible for the gaslighter's feelings. The gaslighter can make you feel inadequate or inferior, which leads to your decline in self-esteem and self-worth. And also, gaslighters manipulate situations to the point where you question your sanity or feel like you're the one causing the problems.
But in the spirit of happy wife, happy life. Some of you are probably sick of that cliche, but it is so true. Because when she's all pissed off, unless you're just gone at work or you've taken off and shut down somewhere, it's like a dark cloud hanging over. It's worse than a dark cloud hanging over your head. It's a dark cloud that's raining on you and striking you in the ass with light.
So a new term for you, BTD syndrome. That's brutal truth denial syndrome. Brutal truth denial. The guy on the autism spectrum thinks, I don't have that disorder. I've looked at an informal quiz online. I don't have those traits. That's not me. I can't have sensory sensitivities, weak central coherence, problems with prediction, executive function deficits. It can't be that I have a disorder that means my emotional age is stunted. It's just not possible. And then she, in this case the NT wife, goes, no, he doesn't have a disorder. He's just a narcissist. He could do better if he just tried harder. Yeah, okay, BTD. Both of y'all are in denial about what's going on. Why is that a problem? Because if you convince yourself that you don't have the disorder, or if you're the NT spouse, you convince yourself that he could do better if he would just try harder, then the both of you make a bunch of false assumptions on what's really going on. And you label it other stuff. The guy on the autism spectrum labels himself as a social failure. The NT wife labels him as being uncaring, selfish, insensitive, narcissistic, sociopathic, and so on. So you end up labeling it something that's not even in the ballpark, which means you have not identified the problem, which means you cannot problem solve.
The problem is which information gets filtered. Suppose your ASD partner walks into the house expecting a normal evening. That expectation becomes today's mental map. The predictive brain now starts sorting information. Dinner? Normal. Television? Normal. Kitchen? Normal. Dog barking? Expected. Your quietness? Ignored. Your tired eyes? Filtered. Your trembling voice? Not registered. Your sadness never becomes part of the brain's active prediction. And information that doesn't fit the prediction often receives remarkably little processing. Not because it wasn't visible, but because it never became neurologically important enough to interpret the prediction. This is slow but real. Neurotypical spouses often dismiss improvement because it isn't fast enough. Suppose your spouse used to explode every week. Now it's once a month. That's improvement. Suppose they previously shut down for 3 days. Now they recover in 6 hours. That's improvement. Change often looks microscopic before it looks dramatic. Quick message to neurodiverse couples out here. This is why the ASD husband stops listening to the NT wife. He thinks that when his NT wife shares upset feelings with him, she wants a solution. So he offers a solution, but she continues to be upset since she just wants to be listened to. She doesn't want a solution yet. So it becomes increasingly difficult for him to listen because his solution is being rejected, and he kind of feels increasingly useless, and so he stops listening.
It's almost a stretch to call you guys in the minority because there's so many undiagnosed people crawling around all over the planet. If we could get to the bottom of things, we might find that 30% or 40% of people, the entire people on the planet, are on the spectrum. That sounds like a bizarre exaggeration. It's not, because there's a lot of people that have these traits, but nobody has put 2 and 2 together yet and or done some research and thought, hey, maybe you have this thing called ASD level 1. They just go on with life and they don't even entertain the idea. So there's more people that have it than have been diagnosed with it or that even have talked about it.
A quick message to neurotypical wives out there. This will be short and sweet and to the point. Stop giving advice and, quote, constructive criticism, unquote. I know your heart's in the right place, but when you offer unsolicited advice or try to help your ASD spouse, you have no idea just how much he feels criticized and put down. Your suggestions are offensive, they hurt, especially if he felt criticized as a child or experienced his father being criticized by his mother. You've been duly advised. I would go for the thoughts instead of the feelings. If you get the sense that he's feeling something that's off and is disconcerting to you, instead of asking him how he feels, I would just say, I'm not accusing you of being angry or anxious. It's my download. It appears to me that you might be agitated. I don't know. Is there something on your mind? So you're coming at it from a thought angle, because he'll know probably what he's thinking in the moment, not so much what he's feeling. This is the heart of the matter, a deep, mutual, gross misunderstanding. There's a theory called the double empathy problem, which suggests these communication breakdowns aren't one person's fault. Instead, it's a mutual struggle to get inside each other's experience. She can't quite grasp his internal world, and he can't quite grasp hers. What's the result? She often feels incredibly lonely and responsible for everything, while the ASD husband feels incompetent, controlled, and totally misunderstood. It's painfully exhausting and chips away at the foundation of the marriage. There's sensory and cognitive overload. An autistic brain often takes in way more sensory information than a neurotypical brain and struggles to filter it. At any moment, he might be actively managing the hum of the refrigerator, the tag on his shirt, the bright lights, and thoughts from a conversation hours ago. His brain is often running at 90% capacity just to exist. And her verbal ping isn't just a sound. It's another piece of data he has to process on an already full hard drive. If he's focused on something, he might be in a state of monotropism, using all of his available processing power for that one thing. And her interruption isn't just his distraction. It can feel like a total system crash. His silence isn't him ignoring you. It's his brain desperately trying to allocate resources to your requests without losing everything else. And the shutdown that sometimes follows is basically a computer's blue screen of death. The system is overloaded and has to reboot. A quick message to ASD level 1 husbands out there. Your neurotypical wife talks about problems to get close and not necessarily to get solutions, okay? She just wants someone to listen, and gradually she'll feel better on her own. Don't try to change her negative feelings into positive ones. Just pay attention to her talk with the sole intention of respectfully understanding what she's going through. That's all that's needed.
So, a quick message to the autistic husbands out there. Your neurotypical wife's feelings are a fact. If she has a particular emotion going on inside of her, that emotion is a fact. For example, let's say that she lost her father recently, and she is grief-stricken at the loss of her father. That sense of loss, that feeling of grief, is literally measurable if they were to do a brain scan. So that feeling is a fact. If she says, for example, I'm feeling sad that I don't get some of my intimacy needs met, that feeling is a fact. And you might say, well, Mark, she said, I feel that you don't love me, and I do love her. That's not a fact. You're right. Because if she says, I feel that you don't love me, that's not a feeling. That's a thought. So sometimes she will say, well, I feel such and such, and it's technically not a feeling, it's a thought. So her thoughts are not necessarily facts, but her feelings are, and so are yours. So when she's expressing her feelings, don't view it as, oh, she's so emotional, and oh, that can't be true. You don't feel that way. No, I'm sure she's not lying about her feelings. If she says she feels a certain way and she's actually using an emotion rather than a thought, she's not lying. That's what's going on. So when she's talking to you about her feelings, don't chalk it off as just a bunch of psychobabble with no factual basis. If you're feeling a particular way, let's say you're feeling mad at her, and I say, no, you don't feel mad. That's not reality. No, you would say, by God, I am mad, and it is a fact that I'm mad. So you understand now that feelings are facts.
Hey, this is Mark Hutten. Would you like to schedule a one-on-one Zoom call? Okay, it's so simple. Just look under any of my videos in the description area. Click on this Calendly link. Now you see my calendar. Pick your month, your day, anytime that's available. Enter your name and email address. Then you'll get a follow-up email with the Zoom link on the day and time that you picked. And voila, we will talk.